Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelley Eckhardt is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelley Eckhardt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Psychic Hour on WLTKDB. Let's Talk Radio. I'm Kelley Eckhardt, and here we talk about everything with psychic mediumship, healing, energy, spirituality, topics of discussion with learning about just consciousness. That's what we delve into. And once a week, we always have a guest. And our guest today is Kelley Eckhardt. She's a fantastic psychic medium and animal communicator. And it's your chance to, when we're talking, to ask questions that mirror the conversation with what they're sharing about their life. I always just enthuse people to reach out and connect because we have wonderful, wonderful people on. And everybody that's coming in, hello, Keith. It's great to see you. So we always start with the topic of the day, and the topic of the day is about how spirituality changes. Now, spirituality is kind of a constant force. I'm going to say it, but the way we perceive spirituality, the way we perceive our own energy, the way we have our needs met when we are developing, or the way that we feel comforted or supported within our spirituality, that changes. It does. There's constants. And some people have, let's say, routines that they really enjoy that makes them feel connected to what's divine or God or the universe or whatever they connect to that's sacred. And other people are always searching. And I feel like there's like a mixture for most people, right? Like some people, like, they sit in the power or they meditate, or they go to church every week, or they have a certain prayer at a certain time that they adhere to connect them. And there's also just practices. And within spirituality, it's much more open-ended, right, than religion, of course. So spirituality, you can talk about so many different things. But I do think when I was first developing, and you can share too as well, it was important that I started to kind of open myself up to spirit. And I definitely spent more time, like, in the beginning, like checking in with spirit, being like, okay, like, what do you feel like? Who are you feeling like? And my guard was definitely more so up with spirit. But that was part of my practice. I was like, okay, I have to like feel that somebody is, a good spirit. I have to feel like what they're like. I have to know who's coming my way. And all that is much more just natural. Like, instead of just checking, there's just more of this faith, this natural understanding, this natural feeling. I used to like think my way much more through spirituality, and I still do. It's fun to get a little logical, but that used to be much more a part of my spiritual practice, and now feeling is such more a part of my spiritual practice. I find that a lot of things that I've done within my life, it's actually only helped to grow my spirituality and my sensitivity and my energy connection. But I don't use certain things as much from one year to the next, right? I used to do more, I guess, energy exercises before I'd open up my energy. Now I do kind of like less, and I do more exercises for maintenance. Um, I used to, I think, much more like I would rev up my energy. So, like, I would like stretch and, imagine my aura opening up. And now it's just more gentler process. Um, and things that kind of have changed are, I noticed that when I'd open up my energy, a lot of times my sign that my energy was opening up were that my my wrists would tingle or my body would tingle, right? And now I just never like look for those things. Those are like, small indicators, very, very small indicators. But I have certain sayings that I still use. Um, I try to wake up every day and say, may God go before me and set the way, and or I'll say a version of that, but that's basically what I say, and then I just see how I feel with that. It's almost like a higher power than me pulls me to kind of where I'm going for the day, whether it's very, very subtle or actually I'm inspired to do things or I'm inspired to receive more energy than my own. So I have certain practices that rev up my energy. It's more so that's what it is. My spiritual practice has really gone and flowed with my energy for what my needs are to have more even energy, to have more active energy, to have more creative energy that is more dependent on my day rather than searching, seeking, and like having a moment to like blend with the energy and have it be like more of a, okay, I'm going to take my spiritual time, I'm going to take my a moment to connect, I'm going to take a moment to explore. It's kind of like the spirituality is more active, it's just like kind of more natural within, like, hey, I need energy to do this, or hey, like I'd like more positivity in my day, and I use those principles in ways that are very practical rather than more esoteric, like, and more exploratory. So everything just becomes integrated. And I talk about it a lot. Like I use salt baths a lot more within my spiritual practice with like what I need to do for my maintenance. But mostly I do think that I'm more connected to my body within spirituality, much, much more. So part of my spiritual maintenance and development actually is in correlation to things that again seem more practical, like going for a walk or stretching my body in a way where I actually feel more grounded in my body. And then that is directly a spiritual feeling too, rather than just taking care of my body. So, oh, thank you for everyone coming in. I just want to acknowledge, thank you, Tina. Thank you, Kevin and Karen and B and Jessie Cat. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. And Hearts and One. Thank you, thank you. Hello. And we're going to be having Kelley in just a second. And so that's why I encourage you to kind of like look at within your own life. Um, what practices have you taken with you over the years, whether it's 5 years ago or 13, 20 years ago, or whether it's been something from year to year different? What remains constant? And it's good to look at those things because, even as I'm reviewing, I go, wow, like 10 years ago, I used to read cards more for myself. That was part of my spiritual development. I would just sit in a corner in my room and I would like create my own spreads and I would just like touch in with myself. And that is something that was important to my own spiritual development and higher self. And I used to do that multiple times a week. Now I don't do that unless I'm called to do it. I don't work a lot with cards in general unless I'm just called to do it. I actually rarely use them in readings, but I use them a lot in development. I love them for development. I love them for check-ins. But my spiritual practice with cards, very, very different. And back in the day, I never read with cards either. It was just always just a personal check-in. And I do think those are really, really powerful, whether you have a tool or you're just personally checking within yourself, like my soul, my mind, my heart, my body. Very, very important. Jessie Cat's asking about reading books. So yeah, I used to read more too. That's something I would like to integrate more. I still read, but I'm more consuming small bits rather than long bits. And so some of the books that I really loved, um, I read a lot of Dr. Brian Weiss, Messages from the Masters, Tapping into the Power of Love. That is a fantastic book. That's my favorite book by him. I really loved reading Celia Brown books, the early ones. She talked a lot about her connection with heaven and what that meant to her. And whether or not that is something that you relate to, it gets your mind into the energy of what the other side looks like and what the experience of the other side is, and that life continues and the afterlife is just sparkling with all this wonder and love. And I think that was important to really consume when I was first getting into the spirit world. So some of her early books really did touch me, I will say that. And I consumed like a bunch of different material, like Colette Baron Reid's books, Remembering the Future, Sonia Choquette. I really liked her book, Trusting Your Vibes. That's if you're first getting into spirituality. Or Diary of a Psychic is really good. That is her own journey, like when she was young to being full time with her personal life and her professional life, her family life, about what it was like having sensitivities and experiences as a highly sensitive person. And I just, she's a fantastic writer. So I highly recommend Sonia Choquette. And I could just keep going. So there's so many wonderful resources, and now there's even more books out there. So that is something I want to definitely bring back into my spiritual practice, the reading portion again. But there was a time where I just couldn't get enough. Just couldn't get enough of all the spiritual material. I was always in like Barnes and Nobles in the like the spirituality, section, just reading away, looking at new books. It was something that gave me immense comfort. And that was, again, a part of my spiritual practice. Um, and watching even the TV shows, like seeing Lisa Williams or John Edwards, like James Van Prague when he was on the air with specials. Or even, Sylvia Browne, because she had that weekly show on Montel Williams. All of those people I really did watch, and I was like, okay, this is what being a psychic medium looks like. I had no reference point before then. I absolutely didn't have a reference point. I didn't even know what one was. You know what I mean? You have the concept of what a reader is at a fair, right? Or like what something like scary is in relation to it. But yeah, when I was like, oh, like people just read other people, and then there was like interpretations of how that could be, like on TV or in books, you go, oh, this is like a thing, and this is very natural. And for people who have interest in this, it's very flowing, and they do it too. And so I had immense interest in learning from those people. And the last thing I'll say is I used to listen to a lot of Hay House Radio. It still exists. It's just my mind's other places. I'm working on different things. I just have different spiritual support systems for how I go about my life. I used to listen to a lot of Hay House Radio, and there used to be a lot of really good shows on, like Dr. Brian Weissman. I believe he's still on. Colette Baron Reid used to have a show. Doreen Virtue had a show back in the day. It's just again, it's just all these wonderful names and people were on platforms where you could get so many wonderful resources, and Hay House Radio is still out there. So I encourage you, if you want some awesome content as well, to check that out. So with that said, keep your spiritual resources and maintenance and practices alive, whether you're changing them or integrating or finding new ones. It's really, really important for you to feel like yourself. If you're gravitating to something that makes you feel like your vibration is raising, or you're connected to your truth, or you're happy, it's imperative. So with that said, I send you a lot of love in that department, and we'll be back in just a moment with Kelley. See you soon. Hello, and we are back, and let's bring Kelley in. Hello.
Hi. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great. I have a little bit of a raspy voice, but I'm here. I'm
Oh,
alive.
no, I love it. It gives some like, additional tonality. It gives
Yeah,
some,
there's
some
texture to my
spice.
voice.
Yeah. I love
Yes.
it. It's almost like we have a new guest on, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like I'm a new voice.
keep, keep it fresh. I love it. I want to give everyone a warm welcome with introducing you. Kelley Eckhardt is an evidential medium, psychic, and animal communicator, author, and speaker. She was born with memories of her time in the spirit world and many of her past lives. Kelley has been recognized and featured as an expert on the Roni Deutch show, double tested and validated by Shay Parker's Best American Psychics, and is a credible and reputable member of Bob Olson's Best Psychic Directory. She has co-authored the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Last Breath, and uses her gifts to help others heal and brings messages of hope and insight to her clients with evidence. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
Hey.
you.
So
It's hard to hear people
you
read about you.
well, I mean, hey, that's your life though, right? Speaking of
I mean,
evidence, it's just evidence of your life.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, and there's more coming, so I mean, I like it. Yeah. I'm going to
You're
be
a
updating
spirit,
it.
you're a living spirit, and I'm just validating the evidence of who you are as I introduce you,
So,
right?
yeah, you're an evidential human.
Exactly.
Yes,
So
I love it.
I am curious what you've been up to. I know that you were just recently at an expo, right? Up north in
Yeah, the New
California.
Living Expo. It was exciting. It was fun. I um I was just getting over a sinus infection, and so I kind of have been fighting this sinus infection for like a month, but it was starting to get better, but I had a little relapse and now it's spread into my throat.
Oh
So
no.
I overdid it. I do that a lot. So I'm taking it easy now. I rescheduled some readings and I'm just trying to rest. Sometimes we
Yeah.
have to take a step back. We want to keep going, but our body's like, no, 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 no. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I got so excited. I signed up for the New York New Life Expo, and Cheryl
Wow.
and I are going. So I'm very excited about that. That's in October.
Wow. So that's in October. Have you been to any conferences or events in New York? Is this like your first venture?
I took a course in New York at the Omega Center back in I think 2000. Gosh, I think it was 2015 or but maybe 16. I can't remember. It might have been 16. Yeah, I went for a whole week all by myself.
Yeah. Hey, that's the way to do it. So like
Yeah.
will you then be giving readings
So we'll be
or speaking?
yeah, so Cheryl and I are going under the radio show. So we're going to promote our radio show and we're going to do readings and we're going to do a speaking engagement together.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
we were trying to think how we could incorporate the both of us going and sharing the booth, but not, we can't just have it one person's name, right? So
Right.
we thought that was a great way. We're a team.
I think it's so cool that you're going as a team too, and it's so like almost helpful because just imagine you're at
I'll
a
be
booth and it's
promoting the
just like,
radio show and the station.
well, the radio's still in their station, and also it's like you get to, explore
Mhm.
as well as, be helping people at the booth and
Yes.
growing and sharing
Oh,
and
yeah,
teaching
yeah.
people about what you do, and you get a moment to step away. It's like a happy balance.
I loved it. Yeah. And you know what I do is I make money and then I spend it all there. I went
There's that too.
I went shopping. I mean, it was so bad. Like I'm like all the money I made I spent. Oh, that doesn't well, I'm okay. I'm happy.
So what things are catching your eye?
Well, I always get every time this is my second year at the New Living Expo and I always buy from this one lady her clothing store. So I got this pretty little it's like a jacket and then this is the scarf and I loved it. Um I'm not wearing it today. It's in my bedroom, but I bought this huge, like massive crystal necklace this lady made. I mean, it's incredible. I'm just in love with her jewelry. So I will be looking for her at future ones to buy more. Um, I bought a lot of because I'm not feeling well. The guy in the booth next to me, he sold supplements and he was giving me all these free samples to help me feel better. And so I really I stocked up on some healthy things. My whole family's taking him now, and I do feel very energetic, very clear-minded. And he had one for sinuses, a sinus wash, everything. And I'm really excited and happy that I was next to him. That was definitely divinely guided, you know. So I did that, but I mean, it's just fun stuff. I mean, you can find everything there. It's amazing. I
You
love
can.
it. I love
You
it.
know, you never know what you'll find or what booth is there in
Yeah.
vicinity. And so you talked about too, like your healing that you need to take some, rest for yourself. Like, what are some of your new, I guess, ways that you've been doing self maintenance for yourself that you've been finding like, oh, I needed that?
Massage,
Yeah.
getting my nails done and falling asleep in the chair while they do my toes. Um, and just sometimes I just like to sit in my bedroom in the dark
Yeah.
and just
I can understand
meditate.
that.
Like I just like to not go to sleep. It's just like I just want to be in the quiet. Yeah, just
And
a
the
quiet space.
turning off the lights, there's so much stimulus just from seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, my eyes get tired. They get fatigued. And I just want to be in the dark, take off my glasses, put all my electronics away and just sit in the quiet and just breathe. It's just
And
something about just being there. It's just nice.
do you find that certain times when you're just in the quiet that things are very indeed quiet in your mind, or do you find that there's a busyness that has to even out?
I feel like I get a little focus while I'm sitting there relaxing because I get so many thoughts at once. Sometimes I have a hard time staying focused, but I've been working on that and it's gotten much better. And so, yeah, because I have a lot of projects going on right now. I have a lot going on. I'm
I
like,
can only
which one do I work on?
Yeah, that's a thing. I hear
Yeah.
you, I hear you. What are some of those projects if you can share them?
Well, I had put together a trip to Egypt and I took it off the
Oh, yeah.
schedule and I've been revamping it and I took on a partner and we're getting ready to announce that it's going to be next year, 2024. And we really
Beautiful.
like added more of a spiritual tone to the trip, and some private time in some of the temples and things like that. So I'm really excited to announce that, but I can't say everything yet. I'm waiting, and I'm excited to who I'm partnering with, but I want to wait because she hasn't announced it, so I don't want to. So that's one big thing. I'm also working on my book and getting ready to submit, I guess, like a book proposal out here real soon to
Ooh.
try to get somebody to take on the book for me and let me finish it. I'm hoping to finish it by July or August. That's my goal. So I've been doing a lot of writing, and I enjoy the writing. It's just difficult to do that in a busy household. So I really need to take myself out of the house and go to my actual office where there's nobody and work on that. But I've been doing it at home a lot. And then
I find that
just
that's Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go.
I was gonna ask you that I find that sometimes that's difficult, so like you have an office, I have an office too, but it's almost like you gravitate towards the house because there's so much comfort, right, in the
Mhm.
house, and you can get so much done that sometimes you don't even
Yeah,
leave for your office. So do you
right.
find yourself wondering like, why am I not at the office?
Well, the office to me is more my event center
Ah, yeah.
and classroom. I do have a nice office there, though. Within all of that, it's a huge place. It's well, not huge, but it's like 700 or 800 square feet. And so I've got an office and a big classroom area, right? Um, so I really kind of focus on that as more my event center and classroom. And at home, I like to be home. We have, 4 cats and 3 dogs, and one dog is, having some neurological issues and they like us with them all the time, so her back legs are getting paralyzed. So I want
Oh,
to be with
no.
my babies, and I have a son, and like it's nice to be with the family. We're kind of this weird family where we actually like each other and we all work from home.
Well, there's so
So
much, good energy within family, and they can inspire things, so I can understand if there's so much great energy at home. You're like, why would I leave? If I may
Yeah.
ask too, what has been the inspiration for the book?
I've been wanting to write the book for probably 10 years, honestly. And I could never get focused enough. So this year I made a commitment as part of my like New Year's resolution. And I am meeting with Maureen Healy, who is um, like a psychologist that works with gifted children and sometimes adults. And she's been working with me and kind of more mentoring me or guiding me on the book. She's written several books.
Wow.
And so she kind of gives me homework assignments, and says, okay, this is what I want you to work on next. And it's helping me take the whole idea of writing this book and getting overwhelmed and putting it into little pieces. And that makes it so much
Absolutely.
easier. And just having to know, like, okay, I'm being accountable because I'm meeting with her and I'm paying her, every 2 weeks, a certain dollar amount, like I'm going to get my work done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I think that's really important too. Like when you're shaping, your life and you have these goals, sometimes you just need someone to help you, accountable with because there's so
yeah,
much going on.
yes. Yeah, it's important for me to get this book out because I feel like it's the next step of where I'm going in my career. Because the book, the way I'm putting the book together, which has been very helpful, is I'm putting it into 3 sections, and then each section has like chapters, and at the end of each chapter, then there's like a little lesson plan. And it's
Yeah.
not an educational book. It's really based on my life, and it's my stories, but it's not in chronological order, you know. So I have like stories about actual angel interventions in my life. I'm going to have stories about my near death experiences, stories about earth angels that I've experienced in my life. So I've got like, and then signs and synchronicities and numbers and just lots of things that have happened in my life because I feel like within each story there's inspiration, but also a lesson that I've learned in life. And so I want to kind of, organize it in a way to where like it's not just a book you can read in any order you want, but also you can go to what resonates or what you need to at that time. Maybe you need to read this chapter because you're feeling drawn to it, and you don't have to read the whole book all at once, you know?
Right. That makes sense. That
And I
makes
can I
sense.
can do talking like I can talk on section 1 of the book, section I can have these like little workshops. So it's kind of I have this big idea with it. So I'm happy. I'm excited because I want to do more
Yeah.
speaking, more teaching, more, exploring.
And the
Yeah,
book helps to formulate and format that. That's what I'm trying to say.
I
It
knew that.
definitely does. Bef- did you find that spirit has led you to be accountable for certain things in your development, like with the book or other things?
Yeah, yeah. When I first started developing, I I was kinda like a kid in a candy store, like, I just couldn't learn enough, I couldn't get enough, I was so excited, and I was absorbing everything and reading everything and listening to everything and going to every dem and just trying to take every class, right, It was so exciting, and I just wanted to learn it all, and my husband kept saying, "Well, it was the very beginning, right? This is, like, 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And he kept saying, "You're really good. Let's put a sign up in the yard. You can do readings of the house." And I just remember telling him, "No, I'm not ready. I have to feel like I'm at a certain point where I feel like I'm ready and I'm going to give, a reading that's really, authentic and they're going to get their money's worth. Like I want to be at a certain level before I put myself out there." So I'm kind of like that with everything and with writing in the book. I knew I wanted to write this book, but for like 10 years, I mean, I had it in my head, but I wasn't ready to really put it into this format that I have now until now. And I do feel like spirit kind of was like, all right, it's time to tackle that book this year, Kelley. Yeah. It's like you're ready now. So, and I had to
And
make a lot of changes, in life, like in my work schedule. I cut back and things like that to make time for the things I'm trying to bring in. Yeah.
What changes did you have to make too additionally when you started becoming a medium professionally?
Oh, I quit working for my husband. I was his bookkeeper and office manager, and we have a big construction company. And I still kind of manage a little of it, kind of from the background, but not much. So I let that go. I was also doing that all from home and unschooling my youngest son. He was about 4, 5, 6 years old. So I think he was like 6 or 7 when I started to professionally become a medium. And I realized right off the bat, he couldn't be with me at the store, the crystal store, when I was reading, because he'd try to chime in. and, and so
Oops.
it was really hard to focus with him doing the reading. So I had to get a nanny, like for him. So when I did my readings, somebody would watch him, and I think just really learning to find a balance between family, work, development, friends. It took me a minute. And honestly, I feel like I'm always renegotiating that balance. It's kind of a constant pull and like depending because life changes. So
Absolutely.
it does. Things change, and he's now 16, so it's a totally different world. I don't need babysitters anymore. So it's just things change. Yeah.
Things change, new needs, and right now, I guess Spirit is really making sure you get the book done. So that's fantastic to hear as
Yes.
well. And what like projects, I guess, are the next ones coming up, if I may ask?
Well, so I am putting together, and I'm not ready to say them yet, but
Okay, I
some
won't. Maybe I
courses.
shouldn't ask.
Well, no, I mean, I am putting together some new courses that I'm going to do that are in person, and I might do them online. But the in-person ones will be in Sacramento. It'll be like 1-day courses. I don't have a lot of those right now. I'm doing more just the mentorship in my development circle. So I wanted to have some more fun classes per
Yeah.
se, just to kind of people who are maybe intimidated by the whole idea of, psychic and medium. But I think everybody should learn about their intuition. So I'm trying to come up with some fun, like 1-day or 4-hour classes that people can have a lot of fun with and come with their friends and not be so afraid of to try.
For some reason, I was just really inspired to ask you about that because I felt like there was something fun coming up that just needed to, be
Yeah.
unleashed. So I want to jump back to kind of when you were first young within the world, sensing spirit. It was mentioned that, you at a younger age remembered past lives and you were just very connected to that space as a young child. Can you share that too?
Well, I actually remember my most recent past life. I was murdered. I was 22. It was in Los Angeles. I remember that. I was a nurse, and it was in the middle of the night shift, and I was coming home. Yeah, I remember that vividly. And somebody murdered me. And then I also remember as soon as I died, I was in this beautiful place, and I was like, okay, get ready. Here's your new family. You're going to actually be born again soon. So I watched my mother give birth to my brother that she put up for adoption, who I never met 13 years before I was born. And I remember meeting all my siblings in spirit and watching them all be born. And I remember being 3 miscarriages because I kept changing my mind. And I actually remember, which is pretty traumatic, the physical part of being born. It's not fun. And I remember everything from my first year of life, like as if it was like I can see it in my mind, smells, what everybody was saying, how I felt in my body as an infant, and how frustrated it was because I'm going to say I was this mind in this little infant body. And that connection I still had with my angels and guides and loved ones in spirit. So I was constantly, I would say, from birth until like age 7, astro traveling, leaving my body, going up to the spirit world, trying to go back to the spirit world, because this world's so difficult. And I chose a really crazy family.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, why did I choose this family? They're all wackos. But there was a reason. I know it now. And they kept reminding me and sending me back because I drowned a few times in the ocean, where the lifeguard had to save me. I wasn't a very strong swimmer in the ocean, and nobody really supervised us. I had these unexplained high fevers, and I was always sick and in and out of the hospital packed in ice to kind of bring the fevers down. And nobody could understand where the fevers were coming from or why I had them. And they were constantly just putting me on antibiotics and whatever they could do. So finally, around 7, I think my soul and my higher self and everybody convinced me to stay here. And things got a little bit easier after that. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. How young were you when these near-death experiences were happening?
Well, I can remember vividly one when I was about 5. My sister was supposed to be watching us. I think she was 13. And my brothers were 6 and 7. And my mom would drop us off at Venice Beach in the morning in the summer. And then she would pick us up at like 6 in the evening, right? After work. That was our daycare. And my sister's 13. She's a bit of a, it's the 70s. She's a stoner and she's into boys. And us 3 little kids are kind of like messing up her whole routine. So they would give us little like things to do, like, oh, here's a coffee can. Go raise money to save the Venice Beach skateboard ramp. But that we didn't know that was their beer money,
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh goodness!
And then she'd take the money and just give us money, right? So nobody was watching us, and so I'd go out and try to body surf these big waves by the rocks. And I remember I got held under, and I hit the ground. I took a big wave body surfing, and I went straight down to the sand. Got knocked unconscious, and I remember going to the light and seeing my angels, and I felt so fine there. I didn't want to come back. And next thing I know, I wake up and the lifeguard's pumping my stomach and I'm spitting up. Yeah. So I remember that. And they said I was out for a while and the paramedics came and, and so of course my sister got in trouble and my mom kept leaving us with her. So that happened at least twice that summer. And I think another time the summer after. And then the third summer, my sister just put so much baby oil on me that I got a 3rd-degree burn that I couldn't go to the beach with her anymore.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. So wait, so there was like 2 or 3 incidences within a couple years?
Or I would drown, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was
Wow.
supposedly a good swimmer, just not in the ocean.
Yeah.
I was sort of like had no fear and I wanted to body surf the biggest waves. And Venice Beach by the breakwater used to get quite large waves at times. They could be pretty big for a little kid. And I didn't like the boogie board, but I would ride the boogie board too. I was more into body surfing. I just loved the feel of it as a child. And that's all I wanted to do all day long was just ride the waves. So I wanted to be a mermaid.
That's like incredible too. So you never had fear in the ocean. You
No. And even we would go to the pools, and one time I wanted to go off the high dive backwards because my brothers were doing it. Now that was terrifying. But again, I'm a daredevil and I had to prove myself because I had 2 big brothers. And I did it, and I actually hit my head and got knocked unconscious as I'm falling down because I'm not good at back diving, and they had to save me. But I don't think I drowned because they saw it, but I had a little bit of a concussion and some blood in the back of my head, and that was like around 7, and I got a little award for being so brave.
They had to give some positivity to the wow. Yeah. For every single adventure that you've been on. Oh my gosh.
We were I don't know, I guess we were like little hoodlums in the neighborhood. So, nobody was supervising us and we were just running around doing crazy stuff on the skateboard.
Exploring.
Yeah, roller skating down crazy hills, whatever it was. And just very blessed and lucky that we made it and survived that life.
So, of your family, and since you had siblings, could you talk energy with them, or were they like, no, that's your thing?
As a child growing up, so it was very open about we all saw ghosts or felt spirits. We played the Ouija board for fun as a family. When I remember at 3 years old, sitting at a table with my mom and my siblings or my sister and her friends and my brothers, and we would put our hands on the Ouija board and have fun and talk to people. It was open about that, but it wasn't like it was more like it's fun, it's not real.
Yeah.
But then like I got a tarot deck when I was I think 10 for my sister, and I loved doing tarot card readings for like the whole neighborhood. So I grew up in Venice Beach. It was the 70s and everybody's moms were hippies. So it was kind of like you'd go to someone's house and they'd have a bong, tarot deck, crystals on the coffee table. And that was like what it was like back then. So I was really lucky that
Wow.
way. But again, I didn't want to say, "Oh, I'm a psychic," or "I have these gifts." It was more like we'd laugh about it or tease about it, but we knew we had it. Yeah. They make
So
fun of
you
me
were
now, my family.
you say how so? How so? Like your immediate family or like your siblings now?
My siblings. My siblings,
Okay.
yeah. We all have the gift. They have it. They don't necessarily disrespect it because they do respect it, but I don't feel that they respect me in my field. I think there's I have a very I have a very dysfunctional like siblings group, right? And so I have to have good boundaries with them. So I get little snide comments because I like to do my hair and I like to put makeup on and I like to be girly, and so they call me like old Barbie, and they make these they jokes like it's funny and stuff. And they just don't like really I just don't think they like take it serious. Yeah.
Yeah, siblings sometimes like to, I guess, be rough with sometimes the things that we love and choose. They'd like to test the
Yeah.
boundaries, right? But I think that it's also very hard to understand. Like, there's maybe people who have experiences, but for them, those people who have had experiences, whether they are your family, to understand bringing that into your everyday life, I think that's hard for
Right.
people to process. They're like,
See,
why would
my
you do that? And it's just because
yeah.
it's you.
So my sister Stacy is like the most amazing tarot card reader. And she actually
Wow.
taught a class at my crystal store in Huntington that everybody loved because she's so brilliant. And I always said, like, why don't you do that for a living? Because she's becoming a substitute teacher in her 60s because for financial reasons. And I'm like, why don't you start doing tarot card readings? Why don't you start doing astrology readings? She's good at these things. I said, you can make a living at this. And she just laughs at me. So I don't think it's their thing. It's my passion for sure.
Yeah.
My sister Laura sees spirits, but they never talk to her. They're always quiet. And I try to explain to her, well, they are talking to you. I just think you're not listening. I think sometimes we can block them out because of fear, because she is a little fearful of it.
Absolutely.
My brothers are very intuitive and very sensitive. I don't know. They don't talk about it much. But yeah, I think everybody has it in our family. That's probably why I chose these people, these souls, as my family. To grow up the way I did.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely like in your bloodline, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and it is a part of you. It's just you said it very to the point. It has to be your passion, because there's so much self-reliant work within
Hmm.
this. You know?
It's a lot of work. You know, um, I think it's a lot of work because there's a lot of time you put into developing. Because I'm also a nerd, right? Like I'm a nerd, right? So I want to understand everything that I'm doing so that I can help others. And I also want to make sure that I'm working in my highest. This is like I'm putting out the best that I can for somebody so that I'm providing what they need and not half done, right? There's
Right.
people, I don't think anything bad about them, but there are people that just go out there and say, I have a gift and just start doing it. But I think that I want to make sure I do only good and no harm, even accidentally. I don't want to accidentally uh, say something or do something that could harm somebody.
Right.
So to me, it's very important, my training. And, I also, you put in a lot of thought to like your website because your words are what attract people, right? That intention. And we can set the intention, but we also have to put that intention into the website. And I know there was a lot of rewording on my website I had to do because I was attracting the wrong clients. I was getting the wrong clientele, so I needed to go in and rephrase things. So it was a lot of work, and it's a lot of putting thought into how am I going to do this work? What are my standards? I have turned people away because I don't want to. I don't feel I'm the right person for them,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
real.
can tell. You can feel it. It's not. I will give it a try, and sometimes it's like, what, this isn't. It's just I'm not the one that you need. You went to the wrong medium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'll refer them to somebody I think is the right person for them. So it's not about money. It's not about any of that. It's really, for me, it's about, helping and reaching the people that need me. And that's where all of the putting a lot of energy and thought into the intentions and to reach the people that need to get to me. And that's what I think why you have your show, probably to reach the people that need you. And the same with Cheryl and I with ours. There's a need for this in our communities, in our world, and people don't have anybody to talk to sometimes, or they can't afford to go take these classes. So it's great that we have people like you, me, and Cheryl, and other, ones that have shows. Then we're sharing our insight, we're sharing this, and we're answering questions to help people understand. And it's really, I feel like, bringing more people to the light.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, with your psychic mediumship and animal communication, like you are touching on things that, just I'm not touching on, and Cheryl's touching on
Yeah.
things with her prayer circle that, we're not touching on. It's just there's certain energies where the right people come.
Exactly. And you want to attract those people that need you. Maybe they can't
Absolutely.
afford you, so we do these events like this, and I give back a lot. So as I say, I have my fees, and then I have where I give back. So when somebody says they can't afford something, I'm like, well, come to the radio show,
Right.
and
Right.
and when we post the link for a reading, come up. So
Right.
I can try to give them a free one from me and Cheryl. Like, I do whatever I can to give back. I was going to do a free Mother's Day event this year, but I've been hesitating, and I still might throw it together because of I'm run down energetically. So,
Absolutely.
but I do
Absolutely.
love to give back every Mother's Day because my son passed on Mother's Day weekend. So I think it's beautiful to spend my Mother's Day giving readings to all the moms that lost children. Yeah.
I remember you put it together a couple of years ago, and it was just a really, really special event. There were so many people
It was
that were
144 readings we did that day, as well as all day long talks that were
yes, that's
live.
right.
That
That's
was a
right.
lot of work. And
Yes.
I didn't let enough people help me, but I enjoyed it either way. I've thought about doing that again because I felt like it was a beautiful thing, but it's a lot. It would take it. I should have had a team of people. There should have been like 5 of us coordinating it, putting it together. And I can sometimes have a tendency to be a little bit of a control freak and think that, nobody can do it like I can. I need to do this, this, and this, and everything. But I've learned to let go. Yeah, that was a great event, though. I
I
enjoyed
mean,
that.
that event was really like from your heart. It was your baby.
Hmm.
And it's just like
I'd
sometimes
like to
you
do it again. I'd like to do it again, but I'd plan a year in advance.
plan a year in advance. And yeah, like that was the first run. So you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like I know how it goes. And, like,
Yeah.
I just think no matter what way it comes to you, if it's in a year or 2 years or 3 years, like it's such a beautiful event, and it's so sweet that you're thinking about doing another one in whatever capacity. So thank you for even
Yeah.
thinking about doing that for people.
I like to give back when if I have the energy, I'm giving back. It's just, I think that's important in our industry because it's not always a money exchange. There's
Right.
other exchanges, you
Right.
know,
There
and
are. There's
that's important.
It is so important, and to just there's so many different things to do within business within this work too. There's the humanitarianism side, but then it's just like, how do you represent yourself in a business? You talked about your website, how that's always being updated, and the energy that you attract.
Mhm.
Or there's like sometimes, I think about like kind of the healthy mediums, no pun intended,
Yeah.
but it's just like, if there's an event that can attract so many people, well, like, why couldn't it be $5? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, we
exactly. Yeah.
there's because there's no rules within this work if it feels right. It has to be honorable, it
Yeah.
has to feel right.
Yep, exactly. It's interesting too, I had Thomas John come to my Love and Light Center a couple of months ago, I think in February, and such an
Lovely.
amazing night. And people that I had new clients I had never met before, and people that have never seen mediumship showed up for that in Sacramento. And that's what it's all about. My Love and Light Center is really to bring that community and let people like explore in a safe, environment with love, right? So I call it Love and Light. And then I had AJ Barrera come, and again, a bunch of new people I have never seen showed up and, never had readings. And that means the world to me that I reached them, and I got these people to come and they saw something that they've never experienced before and opened their minds. And everybody was so happy. And I love that. And I want to do more events like that. So I'm planning on bringing more people to Sacramento, including you, because everybody loves numerology, and have you teach a course and do a dem or something with me if you're open to that.
Oh, yeah. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And plan a fun class at my Love and Light Center. It'd be great. And I'm hoping to bring Jules because she's an amazing healer and she knows so much about crystals and everything. And I thought, what amazing class she would provide, you know?
Kelly, I love traveling and I love teaching, so you say it, I'll be there. I would
I
love
love,
it.
I
Thank you
love,
so much.
I love bringing, because I always tell my students, I'm not the only teacher. You have to learn from everybody. You got to like take all kinds of classes. I'll teach you guys what I'm teaching you, but there's stuff you're going to learn from other people. And so you should be out there exploring other classes. So I want to bring
Absolutely.
them so they can try them.
We have so many different gifts. I mean, I know people who are just naturally so in touch with their dreams, right? And so, like, they need to hear somebody talk about that world, because maybe they don't experience energy other than in premonitions, or maybe they're just like really connected to cards or numbers. And it's like,
Mhm.
that's maybe their thing, or that's what opens up their thing.
Yeah, I mean, if we can spark that light in somebody, you know, we can't have enough. There's room for a lot more psychics, mediums, healers. We need more in our world. There's plenty of people who need us, and I feel like the world needs us.
Yeah.
We just need more. So I want to reach and inspire as many as I can.
It just feels good, doesn't it? It just
Yeah.
feels good.
I love to see when that light goes off in somebody's eyes and they did something they didn't think they could do.
That's the best. That's
It
the
is.
best.
It just feels amazing. It feels amazing. That's my favorite thing about teaching.
It's
Yeah.
just like our lights grow bigger, right? Our
Yeah.
lights grow bigger. I want to jump into some questions.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so someone, Dearland was talking about, it would be wonderful to be born with this knowledge, and they mentioned that kind of before too. So I believe this is the question from them, to talk a little bit. We did in the beginning, but when
Yeah.
you were born, like, what additional knowledge did you have? Not just of the other side, but like, what things would you just know sometimes at such a young age?
Well, I think that the weird thing that I always tried to remember, especially when I had children, was my brain works just like it does now. My thoughts work just like they do now. It was just the physical body, the hands, the legs, the mouth that didn't work the way I wanted. Those took forever. And that was frustrating. So I often tell people, children, just because they're so young,
Right.
they're aware of everything. They feel everything. They see everything. It's really important that we, remember that when we're around our young children. Um, what are we exposing them to? Because I was not exposed to great things at a very early age. And I remember being so like annoyed and couldn't wait to grow up. Yeah. So I
That
do
makes
think
sense.
that, it's really important that we be kind to ourselves and to our children, and we talk lovingly to ourselves in front of our children, because they're picking up on everything. We're the first, and they're absorbing it like a sponge.
It's just
Yeah.
there's all this programming going on, and the more aware or the more healed you are, then you only get a chance to go, I need to deprogram, I need to deprogram.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So that's what unschooling is all about for my son. We did not do traditional schooling for our baby. He's 16 now. He's never been to regular school because, to me, school was so traumatic, so horrible, and so boring. And it was never the way I learned. And I was so happy when I discovered unschooling in Orange County and this big, huge community that just took us in. And it was like the best. I wish I could have done it for all my kids. I hope that my kids do it with their grandkids. Like, schools are done. Like, we need to start teaching our kids in a new way, to enlighten the world, because he was not programmed. He wasn't brainwashed with all these like memorizations or false history, because a lot of the history books are inaccurate. He's learned on his own what he wants to learn, and he's brilliant, and I love it. And I think that's how education should be. We follow our passions. We would have a lot more people that are happy in life. We have so much depression and anxiety in children because of all of these pressures to conform or fit these molds that is like the average, right? Well, what about the individual?
right.
So I think, those things are my passions too. That's my passion. It's like, I love just letting my child learn the way he wants to learn, even though he annoys me. I love him.
Yeah, he's gonna be more creative and more free thinking with how to annoy.
Yeah, he knows how to talk. He talks back to me, but like, it's not disrespectful. It's like
Oh
he has an
yeah,
adult conversation with me.
right.
He has his own ideas, his own perspective, and we don't agree. And I respect it, and I'll listen to him, and he has to listen to mine. But it's mutual respect.
When did you start deprogramming yourself because you were aware at such a young age? You're like, I need to get out of here. Like, I don't want to be this.
So I went to 13 elementary schools because my mom was mentally ill, and we moved like every 5 or 6 months in the middle of the night sometimes. My
Wow.
dad took off and left her with all of us kids when I was 7.
Wow.
And she just wasn't a stable person. We lived in our cars, our station wagon, for 3 or 4 months. We lived in my uncle's boat in the marina for a couple months. We lived in motels. So it was really a very chaotic childhood. Yet every school I went to, I was identified as gifted. And I was put in all these gifted programs, and my brothers too. And it was still boring. I only liked math. So I went to one middle school, Mark Twain Middle School in Venice. Loved it. It was nice because all of the elementary schools I'd gone to, the 13, they all kind of piled into Mark Twain. And
Wow.
so I knew everybody. I had all these friends now, because I had never really made friends because I was never anywhere long enough. So middle school was kind of interesting, and I didn't fit in. I was different. I've always been different, and I knew that. And so when I got to high school, I didn't get to go to Venice High School. My parents, my stepdad and my mom, decided to move to El Segundo by the airport, and I was kind of like done then. And I took the proficiency exam and moved out at 16, and started teaching myself what I wanted to learn, started self-teaching. I became a database programmer. I taught myself how to program Visual Basic, a website designer. I became a Microsoft Office user specialist, and I started training other businesses that were small businesses, because this was all new software. But I realized off the bat at an early age that I was great with computers, because I was identified as gifted. They put me in this huge program in LA County where we get to learn how to program in first grade and do our math on these computers, right? And we'd get taken out of school like 2 days a week to go to these programming classes and math classes at like universities and stuff. So I was programming all through middle school too, and just taking classes for fun. I mean, I didn't have any friends, so that's what I did. So it really kind of came in handy and realized that I learn myself when I have a passion about something and I want to learn it, not when I'm forced. And everything I learned in school, I really couldn't tell you what I learned. Everything I know now, I feel is like stuff I've learned on my own. You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I realized right around my 16, like if I want to know how to do something, I can do it. I'm not afraid of change. I'm not afraid of learning new things. I'm not afraid of failing. And that failing was a really important part of growth and learning. And so when I would go on job interviews, I went in there like super cocky and would be like, well, I can do anything. And if I don't know how, I'll figure it out because that's just who I am. I'm very smart. And I would always get the job.
That's awesome. That's awesome that they resonate with that too. They're like, okay,
I
like
was like, I'm not
attitude.
afraid. I'll learn it. I mean, I could. And I was doing taxes at 18. The CPA trained me and I was meeting with clients. And he'd bill me out like at like $75 an hour, you know, and I'm like over here like meeting with a client, going through their stuff and doing their taxes. So I mean, I was a very brilliant kid like my son, but yeah, it was like I knew that I didn't have to be afraid to try new things and I wasn't afraid to put myself out there. And then I would take all of my job experience and I would make my resume and I would take all the cool experience so I could apply for any job. So it was always like exploring it. I got a job at Campbell's Soup when I was like 30, and they have this S system, which is like this old, ancient, kind of archaic database. And then they had this other system, this 400 system from all of like the US and Canada. They were different systems, so they couldn't talk to each other. So I took over from this other girl, and she had created a database to pull all the 3 data systems into one database and match them up so that they could talk to each other. And I would maintain that database and update it and all of that and run the reports so that everybody knew who had what until they built their new system. Yeah. And then they saw how good I was on the computers, and then they started having me help IT, even though I was in another department, and I had to fix all the pagers.
Oh wow. They're just like, can you do this? Can you do this?
Yeah,
Can
they
you
just
do this?
kept. So I was like, well, I want more money, and they're like, oh no, sorry.
Whoa, hey.
Yeah. So it's just it is what it is.
That's a classic 9 archetype energy. You're telling me you got some 9s in your chart.
Well, 9, 29, 70. Is that a lot of 9s?
What is it again? Tell me.
9, 29, 70.
9, 29, 70. Yeah. It's somewhere. It's not off your birth date right now, but it's somewhere. We'll find it.
I don't know what I am. But I think I'm like a number 10 or something.
9, 29, 70. So you're a 2, you're a double 2, and then you are, yeah, that was right. You're a life path 1. A life path. No, wait, no. You're life path 9. There you go. There we go. Life path 9. We found it. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
So that explains it all.
Doing the interview and doing math off the top of my head. You could probably do it better than I could. Okay.
I don't know. You know,
you have a knack for it.
Once I hit 50, I no longer can add up in my head that well anymore. It's like 50. It just all went out, and I'm like, give me the calculator.
I have to like shift into a different mode, or I have to tell my brain to, okay, now it's time to integrate.
Yeah.
And because my brain just goes, okay, we're doing this right now. And it's hard. Some people are so good at multitasking. I don't think I normally have a multitasking brain. How about what does your brain feel like?
Oh, I was really good at multitasking for years, but when I started developing to become a medium and getting in that mind, I'm not so great at multitasking anymore. I have to really like, either I'm in my multitasking brain or I'm in my medium brain, but they don't work together for me.
Yeah,
and maybe they do for some people, but not for me. You know, I've always been able to multitask and handle lots of things and retain lots of information, especially numbers. I used to have, like, we had a 9 12 credit cards at one point for American Express for all of our employees. And I had all the card numbers memorized, expiration dates memorized, and everything, and the codes. I mean, I
Wow.
was real, but now, I mean, I don't know anybody's number. It's in my phone.
It's just-
I think like you just get to a point, you're like, why do I have to memorize all these things?
Yeah, it's like it's cool because I think within the mediumship brain too, like it will come as needed. You'll be like recall, and all of a sudden you'll see it or feel it or something.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I don't have to think about it too hard, and it just comes gently. And then
Yeah.
with the other things, like you kind of have to go focus, focus, focus.
Yes. It's an interesting world. I love it though.
Let me
I
let
love
me
it.
take a couple other questions. So, it is an interesting world. Courtney is talking about. They say she's referencing like you mentioned earlier about meditation and relaxation, and you'll like turn off the lights and get quiet. And she's talking about it's been referenced. She's heard when to take a shower to turn off the lights and to ground herself. And so, do you have other things that you utilize to help get the quiet for yourself?
So this is something I've been doing recently because my husband remodeled our master bathroom and he gave me this beautiful tub because I love to take a bath. And so in the mornings, I've decided, because for years I got up early. I had to take kids to daycares and 2 different daycares and schools, and it was a lot of like busyness getting up at 5:30 in the morning and all of the stuff, right? So I'm older now, and so I've learned that it's okay to relax in my mornings. So I like to take a bath in the morning for like an hour before I eat breakfast. And I sit in the bathtub and I will sometimes turn the lights off. Sometimes I'll have I can dim it, but I like to read the news. I like to read my like emails and just sort of get my thoughts ready for the day. So, but it's like my way of regrouping kind of, and it's like waking up. It's so nice to go from like a warm bed to a warm bath. And then,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
and then I just feel so amazing when I get out, and I feel so refreshed and pampered to start my day. I don't do it every day, but I do that once or twice a week. Yeah.
It's important to have that just to feel grounded. It's that
Mhm.
grounded feeling, that healing
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, if I know I have a busy week or a busy time, I'll kinda do that, and I just sort of sometimes I won't even read. I'll just sit there because I have a nice pillow in my tub, and I'll just lay back, and I'll close my eyes and meditate. But the water feels so cleansing and also at the same time healing to me. I have a connection with water, I always have.
Yeah. It's like it cleanses, it cuts. It like just cuts like cords in the aura and things like that, or
Mhm.
washes away what doesn't need to be there.
Right?
Um, Tina, absolutely. Tina is also sharing and asking. She says, I worked in healthcare for 18 years. I would use my hands to take the heat and pain out of incisions before the therapy, like such as post-op
Mhm.
surgery. Is that Reiki? Should I venture that way to the Reiki healing? She says it's nagging me to ask. So it's like how she connects to healing.
Yeah.
Did you find within your life there were certain things that would come up where you'd go, I think I have to go this direction?
For sure, and the fact that she's asking that, of course she does, and
Yeah.
that's not necessarily Reiki, but it's a form of energy healing, and you're naturally doing it. Reiki is just one form of energy healing. A lot of people will learn all these different modalities of energy healing, and then kind of take what they need from each one of them and become up with their own kind of energy healer, you know? They don't necessarily follow one or all. It's like a combo. So the fact that you're doing that, that's your I would say your niche. You should definitely look into it. You can start with Reiki, maybe you like shamanism. There's other I can't even think of the other healing modalities right now, but there's so many. Yeah. Just
There
explore them.
there are so many, and she's like, she's talking about how I would take the heat and pain out of incisions. So she's
That's
like,
beautiful.
just that in itself, that you're doing that for somebody and you actually
Mhm.
have that real experience, like, you're already on the path.
Exactly. So why not develop and explore it? That's like me with the mediumship. I was always seeing dead people, and I was always getting messages and hearing things like that, right? But I just never embraced it. And once I embraced it, it was like I opened the floodgates. All this information came and things that just were like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. I know this. I'm familiar with this. This is great. So maybe that's what you need to do, Tina.
So, Kelley, was there one, I guess, instance or connection that really made you embrace it?
My son, he was very, very open like I was. And it was like he sparked a memory within me of my early childhood, which I'd always remembered it, but I think I tried to push it away, but it was still there, right? And wanting to understand how to help him because nobody helped me because I became fearful of it as a child. You know, I didn't quite understand it. I knew I had my angels and they always loved me, but nighttime was not fun. I never slept. I was always bombarded with energies and like spirit energies and wanting to tell me, how they died and help their family. But I was a little kid, and I was scary to see their passings because I would see everything, and I didn't understand it, and it was difficult. So I saw this happening to my baby, and I was like, I need to understand this so I can help him. And that's when I realized I can manage this. I can control it. I don't have to live like, oh my gosh, you know? It was like an epiphany while exploring it for him, realizing that I too could control it. I thought it was just there and you didn't have control. It was
And
controlling me.
absolutely, absolutely. And you're just like this, I'm stepping into this
Hmm.
so I can guide my son.
And now he's 16 and he's shut it off and he doesn't want it and he's not bombarded or bothered by it and he can sleep and he never has like these issues that I had and he had when he was little. So I feel proud of that. And I also feel like now it's my mission to help as many people who were like me and him who don't understand or want to understand but are afraid. And you don't have to be afraid. It's actually a loving thing. Yeah.
It's incredibly loving, and um it's so amazing that you stepped into it, like, in guidance of your son. It's so amazing.
Yeah. And now my older son who passed, he works with me.
Yeah.
And I love that. Everything happens the way it's supposed to in the right timing, too. Honestly, I stepped into this a few years before my older one passed. And this spiritual life that I'm living and my belief system is what helped me grieve. And so I'm grateful that I had this before the community, my new belief systems and understanding of it all came in, 3 or 4 years before he passed, which was a life-saving thing for me. And I have to
It,
say, we
it
deal with the best community. Everybody's so nice.
there's there's so much compassion, and you know people come from so many different backgrounds, and I think a lot of people are, in some ways, or in like more dramatic ways, even the black sheep, whether of their family or their friend group. Like, they didn't have that understanding or support growing up, and then you come together within this community and you hear people's stories, and wow, so people have some stories that got them off the normal path that's right in front of them into the world of spirituality,
Hmm.
because they did not live the typical life. They did not have
Right.
the typical things happen to them. And you're
That's
just like,
me. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you
Yeah.
meet the most wonderful people through that.
We do. And understanding people and eccentric people and fun people. Like, I love it. I love that we're all so different and unique, but also at the same time, we all understand each other and we accept each other. It's the first time
Absolutely.
in my life that I met like-minded people and felt I didn't feel uncomfortable around them.
I can understand that. Yeah, I can understand that. So, with the center that you've created and also the different classes and readings that you facilitate, where can people come and find you if they want to be a part of something online or in person with the communities that you've brought together and continuing to shape and allow people to feel the same way?
Well, I highly recommend that you go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter. And the website is www.mediumkelley.com. It's right there. And yeah, and when you open up the page, you should be able to subscribe to my newsletter. It should pop up, or you could go to the bottom of the page. The reason I say subscribe to my newsletter is that I provide every Sunday. My niece works for me, Brianna, and she is into astrology, and she's studying it and learning it. So she writes an astrology report on Sundays, and she also puts in a tarot card and a crystal and puts a little message with each one. Every week is a new tarot card and crystal, along with her astrology report. They're beautiful reports. I love them. And then I put all my events on there. My events are on my website, but I do special events or things that only go to my subscribers, past special sales, in-person events that only my subscribers are going to know. I don't always put everything on my social media or on my website. So that's why I say it's nice to be on my subscriber list, because then you'll hear about everything first, and you'll know about things that maybe aren't going on to social media.
Absolutely, absolutely. So many things going on. And so, also, before we go, I always give the guest the last word, whether it's a piece of wisdom, inspiration, or something off the cuff. What would you like to share before you go?
Well, I feel like this is really needed right now, and it's really been coming to me a lot. And it's just that we all just need to be kind to each other and kind to ourselves, because we're really hard on ourselves and we're sometimes hard on other people. But we don't really know what others are going through or why they're reacting the way they do. So I want everybody just to really kind of take a step back when somebody's annoying you, and rather maybe try having compassion for them or understanding for them, and just send them love, and send yourself love too. That's what I feel like we
Absolutely.
need that right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, we're all going through so much. Thank you so much for the love that you've brought today and sharing your story and giving people more insight into what they're going through. And if you are inspired to get a reading or attend a class with Kelley, please check out her website and her social media. She has wonderful offerings. With that said, thank you so much, Kelley, for being
Thank
on the
you.
show. It was wonderful seeing and talking to you again. And with that said, everybody, we will see you on Friday for the reading show. And that's how we'll do it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. With everyone, please go with love, light, laughter. Don't forget to live. Take care. See you then.
Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTKDB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.